This thing on? All right, y'all want to see some bucket start sweet potatoes? I had these sweet potatoes growing pretty much all winter long, never put them out. They were sitting in buckets doing great. And, they got moved around. We do stuff here in my gardens. And, well, it's a planting out day. The moon is in the right place. The garden's in the right place. I'm in the right place. So all three of these things are in the right place. The bucket is in the right place. I'm going to turn you around and show you. We're about midway down the slope on my main garden, so the soil depth here is roughly 12 inches of pretty consistent back to Eden soil. I look like a talking head right now, don't I? There's some shoulder. And I've cored out pretty much all of the media down to the native earth. The native earth below my beds is all pretty hard sandstone and clay. It's very, very, very hard. Y'all have seen me smash it with a hammer before. It's like concrete. But above that concrete layer of native earth is this rich, rich bit of soil that we've been making here for the past dozen or so years. And since that journey's taken me to great places and shared with me great riches, I want to continue to share y'all some of those riches in the discoveries that I've made. So I'm going to show you a little project that I have going on here with the sweet potato that's in the bucket where I put it in the ground. The soil has been excavated out all the way, like I said, down to the native earth, so you'll be able to see what that looks like. It's pretty dark now. It doesn't look like the red clay that it used to look like, but it's still pretty hard. I'll go ahead and I'll show you how the density's changed a little bit with my little shovel before I put the plant in the hole. I will warn you, this video is pretty graphic. You're gonna see a naked sweet potato plant with no earthen cover, with no pants. But don't be alarmed. This sweet potato is going to do just fine, and there's more like it. So I've done this with more than one, and our slips are doing great. Our direct sows are doing great. Everything's just fine as it stands. But when I do these experiments like this, I do them with the express intent to learn something new. So that's where we're at. Let's have a look. I'm going to turn you around after 2 minutes and 20 seconds of babble. Y'all can see the bucket right there, the hole to the native earth as well. And maybe I can just scooch you just a little bit, improve the view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, put my hand down to the native earth so you can see it's just about to my elbow. And the pail, little ant there, the pail is obviously full from the bottom. You can see some sunlight shining through to about here. So the depth is pretty consistent. I've got some media here on the side that came from the hole. I'll be using that. And now, here's my little shovel. I'm going to go ahead and push that into the clay until it stops. Clay growers, or clay non-growers, pay attention. I'm talking to you. Kalish, same situation. The entire shovel blade is gone. That tells me that the entire area of my main garden has plenty of moisture banked into its bowels. If this is the stomach, the earth is its bowels. The plants are going to absorb some of this moisture at the roots because it essentially stays in this soil. This media ends up being a perfect conduit for it. I'm going to remove this. Just remind you that I could have pushed it down further if it wasn't for the hilt, or if it wasn't for the fact that it would be pointless to go any further. Sorry about those sounds. This village trucks are doing maintenance on the street. Okay, so check it out. So here's my pail. I'm going to go ahead and give this a little press on its sides to sort of compress what's in the middle. There's holes in the bottom, so there'll be no suction. It's not like trying to pull two spackle buckets apart. And give it a little shake. Now it's free, and there you have it. Okay? The roots, perfect light green. The base of the roots, perfect white, but their coloring is towards orange, the color of the sweet potato. And once this is dropped into the soil, the roots will reassociate with everything below. Okay? I don't really have to frill any of this because I have within my soils worms. The worms are going to take care of culling any of the decaying root matter. There's also ants. They're going to take care of mixing minerals and other things around because that's what they do. Anyone who's ever seen an ant hill knows ants move minerals around. Okay? There's a millipede right here. He's climbing around. They're all in the upper 3 inches of soil at the top of the plant. They're all going to go in the hole. This becomes habitat for all of the living creatures. Clay bearers. Your clay is not habitat for living creatures. But the Back to Eden soil and the Back to Eden method is. Placed above your clay, placed above your caliche, placed above your concrete in your driveway to a depth of 12 inch like this, and you can safely grow whatever you want. Do I look certain? I am certain. Let's put it in the hole. So I'm just going to grab the top and the bottom at the same time and plop it in there. See how easy that was? Okay? Now I'm going to take the richer soil that's been being made underneath the coarse cover that you see, and I'm going to tuck it in at its sides. I'm going to use my hands because this is what I do. I don't really care. I'm not going to try and keep myself separate of this organic life. It's not necessary. What I am going to try and do is press this into the ground so that I remove any and all airspace that might be around the root itself. We want to close up any of those gaps. Okay? Closing up those gaps is going to allow for the gas exchange, there's my hawk screaming, the gas exchange to work properly. What's the gas exchange? Well, plants need oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay? And that carbon dioxide is in these soils because this media is carbon. As it oxidizes, well, you do the math. Now here we've created a little fertility hill. Onion right there. It'll hang out for a while. And what I'm going to tell you is that with all of this fertility sitting here, if my landscaping crews come in here and point the chute on the lawnmower towards this little hill right here, I'm going to have every bit of Bermuda grass growing right here. Okay? Part of Creedmoor's convention, though, is to set himself and those around him up for success. So I've already spoken with the people that are involved in managing the property here. They know to care for the property the same way that I do. Okay? Lawnmower chutes don't exist here because everything's bagged here. And then all that media is taken out to my composting area and it's composted to be reintroduced to the system at a later date. Your stewardship does not end at putting the plant above the ground and burying it with some soil. It continues beyond that point. Because if I was to say I'm done, all I have to do is return when it's time to harvest, well, nothing would be further from the truth. My plants need care the same way that my children require care. They require periodic maintenance and pruning and removal of leaves that might be decaying. You can leave them on the plant, but the insects are going to come and deal with them if you don't do something about it. Alice. There you see a few leaves. These two sweet potatoes got cold stressed because I left them out hardening off and we had a couple cold days. They're going to have access to a full list of complementary nutrients that exist within the soil, and the soil microbiota is going to work feverishly to see to it that it can develop a symbiotic exchange of nutrients between them and the plant and its roots. And to that end, we will get roots. Okay? That's it. In order to keep weeds from growing on this, folks, I'm going to come back here within the next few weeks as all of my plants have become just about established, and I'll bring in another layer of wood chips that's younger than what you see here. They're going to be a bit greener. They will have been collected more recently, and I'm going to apply a thin layer about 2 to 3 inches over the entire bed from end to end, top to bottom. It's not too hard to do because these steps guarantee that I don't have to pull weeds all year long. Look around, folks. Do y'all see weeds? There's no weeds. There's no weeds. And the reason there's no weeds is because last fall I put down wood chips, some compost in some areas. But I locked away all of the possibility of seeds that sat atop the chips from last summer. I locked them down underneath another layer of composting chips, and they're not going to germinate. What does germinate is seeds that are more inclined to germinate in woody matter, and that would be seeds that are born of the trees that the woody matter is comprised of. So if I've got oak seeds, guess what? We're going to get oaks. If I've got maple seeds, we'll get maples. If I've got anything else, we'll get those. But on the whole, because I turn my chips all spring and summer long, many of those seeds that could germinate have since been sterilized, solarized, or decomposed and broken down by the biology that resides within those breaking down wood chips. Then when I lay them in the fall, there's far less nefarious growth that follows. Since the cold weather months are not so weedy, we get fewer weed seeds blowing into the gardens. That means there's less initial weed pressure at the onset of spring when dormancy breaks. With that being the case, I can get all of the plants that you barely could see here in the image today sown and grown through one of the moon cycles, up or down. The plants come up strong. As they get stronger, I'm bringing these new fresh chips from the pile out there into the equation, tucking everybody in, bringing it in here, lifting leaves, putting it underneath. All of these stems, all of these vines are fine with fresh chips. But if they fell off the truck yesterday, I'll generally leave a small clearance zone around the plants, especially plants that are annular plants that aren't going to have as woody a stalk as a perennial plant. Hope that makes sense. As the plants begin to age and their stems begin to harden, it is then safe to bring the newer chips closer to them. Doing so provides shade to the roots, prevents moisture from evaporating at the roots, and allows the plant to stay satiated longer during the drier weeks of the summer. Okay? So grower's habit plays a large role in the success of your plants. If you think you're going to drop a seed or two and come back and find it grown into a plant, it's not the way life works. No life works that way. It's rare when it does. It's outstanding when it does. It's an exception to the rule, not the rule itself. Most life requires a little bit of care to help it to grow into mature adulthood, become productive members of the ecosystem. So don't expect to drop a few seeds and then come back and find you have fruit the next day. You're going to have to come into the garden, enter the garden, look at the health of the plants, respond to them as needed, make the necessary changes and adjustments, doing so in as minimalistic of a way as is possible. I'm just going to go over this plant right here. Y'all saw what I did. I grew it in a bucket. Okay? I made a video of that already, so I'll just go over the process. I put some soil in the bucket. The soil was decomposed wood chip matter. It looked like this. Nah, it didn't even look that good. I put a sweet potato on top, and then I covered it with chips, aged chips. You saw what that ended up looking like. Now it's in the ground. That's it. It's going to get a little compost tea. I'll give it a little fish emulsion or fish hydrolysate. I'm going to plant its buddy over there because we did too. Its buddy over there is a little bit bigger because I used a 1-year-old potato to grow that one. And this one's a little smaller because I used last year's harvest to grow this one. So that sweet potato was old and decrepit looking when I put it in the chips and it started to grow. This sweet potato was perfect when I put it in the chips and set it to grow. And y'all probably can't even see that one. I'm pointing over there. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. There's the one we just planted. And here's the one that was planted of a very old sweet potato. Folks, go forward confidently. There's not a lot that you can do wrong. See these? These were all from slips. Growth that came off of a sweet potato was popped off and stuffed into some soil, and it grew back. Grew roots, grew into the soil, started growing tubers. and then it got planted. You want to learn more about how to do this stuff the right way from someone who does it the right way, continuously, all year long, every day, be it after work or during work or as my work. That's how it goes down here. Click the like, click the subscribe, make sure the bell's got a check on it, check back with me. Comment on my videos, talk smack, tell me I'm crazy, engage with my content, ask for advice, give me advice, complain. All that stuff is acceptable in the world of YouTube. And it's all actually kind of encouraged via the Back to Eden method, because we use what we have on hand. Okay, folks, things are looking up. Sky is beautiful above. The sun is shining. Get out in the garden and make it happen. Peace.